My travelers on the road to CASA. Yo. 2025. Shit. Yo. My goodness. I hope you've done your reflections. I hope you've looked back. I think that was a tough year. I think that was a tough year. It's interesting when you go on social media, you always find that it was a tough year. Hey, maybe this life thing's just tough. 10 lessons, 10, I think, key reflections of mine. That's what we're going to be going through today. And if you saw the episode show notes, you would have already seen them. But now we're going to dive deeper into them. I'm just going to lay out the land so that you understand where we're going to be going. 10 lessons. Lesson number 1, advanced is never not doing the basics. Huge in CTA. I think huge at every level of life. But CTA just instantiated that. Number 2, if compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, compound execution is the 9th. Number 3, going pro is the pinnacle of all pursuits. Number 4, networking is a matter of pass or fail, and even life and death. Number 5, discipline is nothing but a tiny choice. Number 6, in a 50-50, they will always choose the man or student in the ring who walks tall. Number 7, life is always life, even in CTA. Number 8, beauty is truth, and truth beauty. The struggle is real and true, therefore can always be beautiful. Number 9, answer the question, the whole question, and nothing but the question. And number 10, the road to CA is not a game of winner takes all, but of last man standing. Let's get into it. The first one, I think this one is fundamental for all skill building and I think pursuits of mastery. If you're in the business of mastery, if you want to get really good at something in life, I think that this is fundamental, literally foundational, literally basic. Advanced is never not doing the basics. This is a quote from a business dude, Alex Hormozy, big business millionaire marketer dude. He's really good at marketing. That's why we all know him. But he's a big business dude online. And I gleaned this quote from him. And basically in CTA, the way that this applies is that you are going to come along the road, along the academic journey. You're going to come to these situations where the basic marks are what get you through. Now, what do I mean by get you through? I mean, and you're going to see this whenever you get to CTA. If you've already been through CTA, you know this. And even in practice, I'm sure this applies on some level. When you do not bank the easy marks, you fail. That's how it goes. And in exams, when there's like exam stress and exam pressure, it's so easy to just throw away easy marks. But at the highest level of application, it becomes paramount to bank those easy marks. So the lesson is get the easy marks first. Bank the easy marks. Know your basics, because actually that's where everything is built from. If you do not know your basics, you do not know what it takes. Simple as that. And I think this connects to a really good model, this like career progression model that I got from my mentor. So basically, if you look at your career, you can divide your job, right, into primary, secondary, and tertiary. I wonder what a good name for this would be. Let's call it the career checklist. Let's call it the career checklist. That's cool. Because at every level of your career, you need to have these boxes checked and in the right order. So in terms of primary, when you're looking at, for example, when you're a CA trainee, primary is your job spec. And I think this applies to any job, but we're just going to take the trainee job for an example. This is, the things that you signed up to do in your contract. You knew you were going to do audit procedures. You knew you were going to have to do minutes. You knew you were going to have to go and send clients emails and all those types of things, right? It's just your job spec. It's the things that you are paid to do, absolutely, and that contractually you are expected to do. Then you have your you have your secondary, which after your primary are the things that are required, but are not necessarily, or rather the better way to word it is, the things that are not required, but that you still have to do. It would be an embarrassment not to do these things. It would kind of be embarrassing. So the secondary stuff is the teamwork. It's the ability to work in a team, to gel with other people, maybe even help other people in their work. So this isn't necessarily required by your job spec. You're not necessarily going to get fired for not working with your team. But if you don't work with your team, that does reflect badly in your work. And if you're using your articles in the right way, if you're using them as a job ad, or rather you're using them as a testimonial, as a recommendation, a billboard for your career, then you want to do good work throughout. So you have to do this unless you want you want to be burning bridges everywhere you go. So working well with your team, helping your teammates, being a team player, that's your secondary job spec. Then you have your tertiary. And this, in my mentor's words, is your firm-wide initiatives, volunteering. You're showing up above and beyond. This is like that special area. You're having coffees with the CEO, whatever, right? And you're like helping with marketing initiatives. You're helping across departments. Maybe you're adding business value. You're actually winning clients, or you're helping in these high kind of stakes areas, or just value adding on a level beyond your job. Here's the key thing. If you do not build from primary, then secondary, and thereafter tertiary, so if you do not tick these boxes, it's a career checklist, you will negatively affect your career, and you will negatively affect your internal brand within your working place. Example, you are incredible with the team. You are such a team player. You gel so well with everyone, and you're so bubbly and fun, but you don't get your work done. Unfortunately, that will be bad. No matter how great you are with people, no matter how well you work with your team, you cannot not do your work. Your work is what you get paid for. Your work is what you're contractually obligated to do. Your work is what your manager expects you to do, your bosses. And that is the base. So you've got to get your work done first. Make it impeccable. Do it well. Get intimate with the job. Get really good at it, because you have all the time, especially in articles. And another example, let's say you helped with the recruitment efforts. You are incredible. You go to those like varsity recruitment booths, right? You've seen it at university when the firms come around to career day. You wear your merch. You've got all the merch. You're magnetic around the students. You're just oozing, come to my firm. And you actually drive even business value, by attracting X number more applicants than the previous year, right? So you've actually added real value. But you work poorly with your internal team on your audits. That doesn't fly. That doesn't work. That hurts your career. So advanced is never not doing the basics. Build from the ground up. Primary, secondary, tertiary. Do your work. Help the team. Help the firm. Number 2, If compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, compound execution is the ninth. So compound interest being the eighth wonder of the world is a quote by Warren Buffett, I think it was. He's obviously great investor, world's greatest investor, and he is enamored of this thing called compound interest because of how exponential it is, and the exponentiality of it is like magic. We can't really fathom as human beings how great exponentiality will serve us in the long run, and not even that long, like probably just 10 years if you just putting in that little bit of investment every day. So that was where that came from. But this concept of compound execution, this is my part, this is my addition to the quote, was from an interview that I did earlier this year in I think April-ish. Or no, I did it earlier, but I released the interview, which was with Daniel Steinman, who is the founder of Old School, the rugby jersey brand. You can Google it. And yeah, it's like doing, I'm thinking at the time when I chatted with him, it was reported to be doing like 9 figures. So it's a proper big business. I mean, these guys just got a warehouse now. They are really an operation. And I think they're even working with the NBA. I think it's so dope. NBA Africa. So he shared with me this concept of his of compound execution. That's how he worded it, which is a aggressive approach to executing on your mission. And this applies pretty much everywhere where you want outsized returns. So if you're talking about a podcast, right? I think a great example from my own sort of journey thus far, where I've seen this to serve me, is I think back to 2024 when I started the podcast, and about me actually thinking to CTA level, I'm not going to be able to do this. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to run this podcast because, this takes work and pass CTA. I've talked to many people at that time. I'd talked to many people, and I was fully aware of the fact that CTA is going to come in like a lion. It's gonna rock my world. And so I made sure to execute aggressively, to apply compound execution at that time, and to record in advance. I just did bulk recording. I did everything, all of the recordings for 2024, for 2025, and a little bit of 2026, actually, interestingly. I did them all in 2024. And my just pitching up every week without fail has compounded into not only my growth, but the continued growth of the brand, the continued growth of what it means to be an aspiring CA. And I hope even, in the coming years as I'm a trainee, a chartered accountant, it's compounded exponentially. Honestly, your reputation precedes you, but only if you're willing to build and you're willing to put in that bit of execution on your part, which I think that was a great example of how compound execution worked in my life. If you want to apply compound execution in yours, figure out, at least in terms of my bulk model, like just doing things in bulk, figure out how you can do things in advance, in bulk, so that it can compound through consistency as you, let's say, release the content. Content is the one example that I can give from my personal experience. You're going to see the compounding happen over time because you did the execution. You did it fully, impeccably. You applied compound execution and it will yield. Number 3, going pro is the pinnacle of all pursuits, academic or otherwise. So I actually gleaned this from the beginning of the year. I was thinking about like how how in many spaces, especially in these creative spaces, I found a lot of people just lacking this thing called professionalism. And I think actually it's quite common even among students. I talked to my lecturers at Tux, and they were also like they're always so concerned about the fact that, students, they can't even send an email with just a little yana level of professionalism, like a dear who, please may you, kind regards. Like, it's just, ma'am, what does this say? So I realized that as I've been working throughout my studies, throughout my, I guess, early life, I've realized becoming professional is the pinnacle. And professionalism is a full package suite. You can't half do it. You either are or you aren't. Professionals show up. This, I think, is the foundation. Without showing up every day, I don't think you can reach the levels of professionalism, the levels at which the public trust you to deliver, because that's what professionals are. They are the people that we rely on as the public, and in that way, professionals bear the world like Atlas. Because without you, the professional, because you listening to this are a professional in the making. Without you, the world does not go around in a sense, because there's a whole pillar of society that in the context of chartered accountants is key, right? If we don't have chartered accountants, then the JSC just doesn't have trust, right? There's just no trust within the industry. And in that way, you are a custodian of all progress. So going pro, and I actually think of this brilliant quote by David Sendra. He's the founder of the Founders Podcast. It's an incredible podcast where he goes through the lives of entrepreneurs from the past, Steve Jobs, and even just founders in general. Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Edwin Land, interesting guy, Polaroid founder, so many companies, Walt Disney. And he said, there's going to be some days where you feel good, right? You're motivated, you feel good, and that's great. But then there are going to be others where you feel like nonsense, where you feel like rubbish, where you feel bad, and that's irrelevant. I found in CTA there were so many days where the way I felt was irrelevant. Hey, you had to really be a professional. I find that the postgraduate year is one of those academic years that gives you a glimpse into what it means to be a professional, what it means to pitch up, come rain, come shine, to do it at a professional level. And that's why I say it's the pinnacle. You need to aim, even if it's in a creative pursuit, if it's like a hobby, right? Because think about this. You're listening to me pursuing my hobby. Even if it's a hobby, if you want to take it to the level, to the apex, do it professionally. Go pro. Number 4, networking is a matter of pass and fail, and even life and death. This one was fundamental for me. I realized this at the beginning of the year. So I actually had an interview with CA Kevin Buertis, great guy, content king, founder of Meek Media, and I think he recently just went full time. Big congrats to that man! Such an inspiration. And when I had the interview with him, he spoke of networking. Actually, and it was like such a throwaway. It was even maybe a throwaway comment that I kept. That networking might even just be the key to you passing. I'm like, okay, how, my guy? I think it becomes the case when we redefine the word networking. So we think of like, or at least a lot of business people think of networking as like, business cards. I need to get the business card. Oh, I need to be at the networking event and grab coffee and rub shoulders and busy, right? But I think that just it misses the essence of what networking really is, and that's connecting. Like actual networking in a computer context, it is a matter of taking one node and connecting it to another. Taking one person and connecting it to another. So networking is really just connection. But I think in the business context, it's with the condition of value. On your part, of value to give, right? So I say value in general because in a network, everyone giving value essentially has a recipient of that value. Therefore, there's also people getting value, right? I give you 100 Rand, you get 100 Rand, right? In that context. But if we think about what makes a network sustainable, it's the giving. A really nice concept from the CA that came to speak to us earlier in the year is that you want give, take networks. Give, take, meaning you want networks of people that give more than they take, of people that add value as opposed to erode value. So networking is really about connecting with people and having value to give to those people. And the rest will really sort itself out. Like even you listening to this right now, I'm networking with you right now. Hopefully, I hope I hope I'm giving you value, right? I hope I'm creating a connection of sorts. I hope you're getting something out of this, and in that way, we're networking. But I think it goes even further from just passing and failing, though. Kevin gave the example of, okay, so you've connected with a classmate, you've networked with them, maybe you helped them, even the value of being a companion in a class, because sometimes class gets lonely. That person's been alone the whole year. At CTA gets very lonely. And you just being the friend that's there, the human being to give them support, that could be the value. So you network and they could be like a really smart person. And that way you both actually make it through CTA, which is incredible. There's so many people that have made it through CTA through others. But even life and death, it's a matter of life and death. I want to share with you this study. I think if you've heard of it, yeah, it's quite foundational. So it was the Harvard study on human development. So it was the longest study on social dynamics on people ever. Not social dynamics, but social development. And basically, for 80 years, they were tracking the lives of a bunch of different Americans. I think over the study period, they've tracked, 2,000 lives, something like that. So many people from different walks of life, from poor backgrounds, from affluent backgrounds, from backgrounds where there was one parent, two parents, one mother, just a father, single father. And so they had a variety of perspectives. What they found was that the number one predictor for a good life, the number one predictor was not socioeconomic status, not barcode, not postal code, barcode. If it's a Woolworths barcode, maybe. Not postal code, not education, none of those things. It was the quality of relationships within their life, close relationships. Literally, if you have bad people around you, you will have a bad life. You could be a billionaire and you will have a bad life if you have bad people around you. So now it becomes pretty fundamental, especially at these formative years, these 20s, you're in your 20s, you're, studying, it actually becomes a matter of the rest of my life to know that I'm cultivating good connections, that I'm networking with good people. Because again, networking is just connection with value to give. So now connection is also about life and death, because I need to connect with the right people. I need to connect with the people that are going to feed into me, that when I give to them, it's not one-sided. I want to give to givers, because that's what's sustainable. It's not even to get. It's just because that is what a good life entails. And that's what the great life will be, with good people. Number 5, discipline is nothing but a tiny choice. This one, I think this one is also quite fundamental. Key lesson, I think, for the rest of my life. But basically, this idea came from this guy, this former Navy SEAL and this leadership expert, Jocko Willink. He's a former Navy SEAL, and he's a really, really insightful thinker. And he was telling the story of when he went to jiu-jitsu class with his daughter. So the one morning he goes to jiu-jitsu class with his daughter, and I think it might have been at the end of the day or before the class, but he kind of like just he just reveals to his daughter, I suppose for the first time, like, oh, I don't want to go. He's just complaining. He's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go, but he goes anyway. And she was so shocked. She was gobsmacked. Like, what? Mr. Discipline. And the guy's a former Navy SEAL, super hard, like super duper hard. You, Mr. Discipline, don't want to go? And Jocko was like, yeah, I don't, but I did. And then obviously he went to the jiu-jitsu, or rather not obviously, but this is often the case. He went to jiu-jitsu, he didn't want to go, he went, he loved it. Which is it's such a common thing. Like, it's all in your mind, the friction. But side point. But he's basically saying through the story, it was a choice. He did not want to go, but he goes. And his daughter looks at him as Mr. Discipline because he chooses to go all the time. Like, it's never a thing. That's why it was so surprising for her, because he just goes. Every single time he goes. But I think I'd take it further. Discipline isn't just a choice. It's a tiny choice. It's a small choice. I even think back to my Toastmasters times, similarly with the Jocko story. I was a Toastmaster, public speaking club, international organization, delivers educational speech stuff. And every week where we had to deliver these speeches, where we had to attend the meetings, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to another Toastmasters meeting. And I went, and every single time I enjoyed it. So it's just a parallel there that I drew. But it's a small choice, because discipline is not it's not a forever thing. Discipline happens once. As Jocko says, it's a choice. And I think back to in 2025, this year, we had this June study period. And basically during the month of June, or 3 weeks there, we had no lectures. We were just studying for the test 2 that was coming up in July. And it was brutal. That period is probably the most difficult period of any person who's gone to Tux's life. Like, at that point, up until the end of CTA. And there was this point where I think I studied VAT that morning for a few hours, and I was just dead. After like 4 hours of studying VAT, as you know, the most exciting topic in the world, I was just like, I went to my car, I sat down in my car, I was like closing my eyes, I was like, I could just look, my car starts one time, but it's just for a dramatic effect. I could just ride off. I could just go. I could go elsewhere, right? And be done with this. But then I just sat. I just sat for a bit, let peace wash over me. And then I said, okay, let me just go in. I just do like one question, one auditing question. And I went in, did the question, and at the end of the question, I actually enjoyed doing the question. So yeah, it's like the repeating story. It was all in my head. Well, a lot of it's all in our heads, but obviously studying is tough. But in the end, I enjoyed the question. So where was the discipline there? It was not in the doing of the question. It was in my leaving my car. I like to think of discipline in this way as a last resort. Like discipline is the last thing. Because the truth is that I actually made a first decision to come to campus. And this was at my signature study area. I needed to go there because that's my place where I focus and I'm just away from everyone and I can just zero in. But I like to think of discipline as a last resort, like as a fail safe. If all else fails, all else being my systems, my habits, and my inclinations. So in my case, my system was to go to that place. I knew if I go to that place, at least I'm not exposed to the temptation of like dipping, of leaving, or of just not doing work, basically. So discipline is that last resort. And again, discipline is a tiny choice because, I always think of myself as not disciplined. I'm sure you've thought of that too. Like, I'm not disciplined. You think sometime in that moment where you're maybe eating that bad food, you're like, oh, I'm such a piece of trash. You're eating that McDonald's burger, you feel like a piece of trash, and you're telling yourself that, oh, I'm not disciplined. But discipline is not binary. It's one of those values, I think, in general, are one of those false binaries. There's no binary. Like, you're not either disciplined or not. It's more on a spectrum. How disciplined are you? But I think even further, discipline is divisible. What do I mean? If we have like just picture this in your mind's eye, a battery bar, like that battery bar icon where you have those little blocks and you've got, 20% battery left. Therefore, there's like 4 blocks out of 5 in the battery icon. Discipline is each line in those blocks, each break of the battery, right? And I mean it's divisible by the fact that each break is when you need to apply discipline. So let's say you've done your first study session, right? You're doing the question, you do that question. And then you hit that wall where you're like, okay, should I mark the question? Okay, should I leave? It's been a long day. Let me just leave. That's the moment where discipline is called upon. Not during the question. Oftentimes, right? There is some levels to this. There's the tiny choice of discipline as to whether you look at the solution or not, right? There's always that temptation, I suppose. But it's really at that decisive moment that discipline needs to be called upon. And so it's divisible. There's a bunch of those moments where you need to call upon discipline. We think of discipline as continuous, right? As like, oh, you study for 10 hours, you are disciplined for 10 hours. Nope. It's not continuous. Although it's on a spectrum, it only happens at those moments where the choice is made. Thereafter, you kind of have to ride the wave of your habits, your systems, and your inclinations. So I say you pick the things you want to be disciplined about. And I say that those are the big things. So basically, you want to simplify your life to the point of saying, what are the 3 things that, or it could be more, that I know, okay, I need to just get my bum up and do the disciplined thing, right, in order to get this thing done. It might be just simply to pack your bag the night before, right? That's one thing. And make sure your gym bag, let's say you want to go to gym, and make sure that you get out the house by 6 o'clock. That's your discipline thing. That's the choice that you make. And then once you're out and you're at the gym, or at least when you're driving, like, you're just gonna, you're driving, you might as well go to the gym. All of that stuff's easy. But the real hard choice, the tiny choice, was to pack that bag and to get the heck out. So pick the things you want to be disciplined about. Pick the tiny choices and make sure that there are those power law choices, the choices that have those domino effects, the cascading effect of, like, when you just go to the gym, you sweat. It's like, I might as well pick up the skip rope. I might as well work on the treadmill. So figure out, like, those things, those few things that you want to be disciplined about, and make the tiny choice. Guys, traveling. Quick. If you're getting value, only if you are getting value from this, please, guys, give it a rating. Please. If you're in Spotify, just quickly exit the thing, press the 3 dots on the show, and rate the podcast. 1 to 5 stars, 5 stars. If you're in Apple Music, please quickly go to the podcast, exit the thing, scroll all the way to the bottom, give it the stars. You know what I'm saying? It's the only way that we can show that aspiring CAs are here. We're here to stay. We're here to realize our dreams, man. We're here to make this a better country, make this a better world. We're here to make our families prosperous and healthy and wealthy and lively. We're here to do it all. And the best way that you can show them that is that you rate the show. With that, back to it. Number 6, in a 50-50, they will always choose the man or student in the ring who walks tall. So what do I mean by this? In a boxing match, there's always going to be, at the end, if there was no knockout, a moment where the judges get to judge who won, right? Based off of the scores, based off of strikes and misses, and how impactful the strikes were and whatnot. Basically, there's going to be a judgment call. And then sometimes in matches, it's not very clear. It's like, these guys were pretty close. They put hits on each other here and there. So it's not like there's an outright winner that was like, this guy finished him. Even though he didn't knock him out, he destroyed him. There's going to be a tie break or rather a 50-50 call where it's like, okay, they weren't very far from each other. So we're going to have to choose someone. They'll choose the man who walks tall. This, in the CTA context, applied when we get beaten down by the assessments and the entire year. It's very tough. You really do have to keep your head up at all times until the end. And although, sometimes it's just so insurmountable that we need to just come back another try, oftentimes you do have the strength to get through if you just pick your head up, walk tall, walk forward. I think about literally the fact that if you're sitting on a 49, right? If you stand tall with your 49 and everything else is sitting on like 55s, they might just make a judgment call, right? You gotta stand tall. You gotta stand tall though. You gotta work hard, get those 55s. And in the end, you actually might just get through if you keep standing tall in that 50-50 scenario. So it's just about making sure that you have your poker face on at all times. You smile even though it's painful, because that's the only way that you're actually gonna stay in the ring. Like really, it really was a game of just not stopping, the CTA thing. So learn to walk tall. even in articles, like, don't look down. Don't let them get you down. It will be tough. You might be in a space where you're subject to things that you didn't think would be the case. You might not get the support that you hoped for, or that you even need, but you gotta walk. Poker face. Look good. That will always serve you. Except when it won't. Number 7. Life is always life, even in CTA. I actually got this one from a friend that I interviewed last year, Tolile. Great guys, Tolile is Tole. About to qualify, I'm sure he's eligible at this point. And he just told me about how in CTA, he told me in advance, like, dude, you need to make sure that you don't run yourself spiritually dry. And what he meant by that is you got to keep the tank full. You got to keep doing the things that energize you. If, in my case, if that's a podcast, like, I think he noted it from my strategy of getting things done in advance. But if that's a podcast, like, have some podcasts to work on in that way. So figuring out how to keep your tank full, figuring out how to live even in CTA, because a lot of the narrative that you're going to be walking into is like, oh, just throw it all, just focus on just CTA. Yes, obviously focus on CTA, but does that mean you're not going to live? Does that mean you're never going to see a friend ever again? Or you're not going to, go out at all? Or obviously largely not, but does that mean you're just not going to do the things that give you life? You're not going to play golf. You're not going to play soccer. You're not going to play tennis. You're not going to paint. You're not going to do any of the things that make you or bring you life. No. This concept of autotelic versus exotelic activity from the study of flow, which is a concept of like optimal experience when you're effortlessly exerted in an activity. Like when you're playing a game, you're probably in flow, right? You can be in that flow state where you're just going and it feels effortless, and then you look at your clock, it's been 2 hours. Autotelic and exotelic activity explains the difference between, I think, in some way, the activities that will intrinsically charge you and those that may not. So autotelic, telic from telos, which is the purpose, the objective of something. Autotelic activities are activities that are the means and the end in themselves. Exotelic activities are activities that are a means to some other end. Good example, running for you might be like utter drudgery. It might be the bane of your existence. When you run, it's like the world is going to end. But after you run, you're like, and then you look at your watch, your Fitbit, and you're like, dang, I finally did it, right? And you feel good. And then you look at the scale and you're like, I lost that weight. So that is what makes you come again, back to the pain, the thing outside the running. For another person, for runners, many runners, they love the run, right? Obviously, there is pain in the run. And it's not necessarily even that they love the pain, but there's something about being in that flow, being in that rhythm. Like I've heard of runners talk about when you're in your rhythm, right? They just fly and they're effortlessly exerted within the run. So that's the difference. That's an autotelic activity for the person. So running for you can be an exotelic activity if it's to lose weight, or an autotelic activity if it's the activity that you love to do. The autotelic things are things you must take note of, write them down, and make time for. On Saturday between 2 and 4 o'clock, I'm going to five-a-side. It's calendarized. No one can get in between me and this activity here. No one, because that is how I still live, even in CTA. Number 8, beauty is truth, and truth beauty. The struggle is real and true, therefore can always be beautiful. I take that first line, beauty is truth and truth beauty, from John Keats, I think it was. John Keats, who wrote an ode to a Grecian urn. He's an English poet. Brilliant poem. And at the end of the poem, he has this. Is it what's the word for it? This declaration that beauty is truth and truth is beauty. Beauty is truth, truth and truth beauty. That is all ye know and all ye need to know on this earth. I think it was the line or something like that. And I found that was the case in CTA for me. I think one thing that I discovered is that beauty helps you breathe. I think that's something that I found. And we think of like beauty as kind of quaint, such a quaint, maybe even just a nice kind of topic. Just quaint, it's nice, it's a nicety. And we don't really think of it as a philosophical concept, right? An integral concept to what it means to be, right? And I found that despite everything that happened in the year, it was the through line that made it all beautiful and all worth it. That actually, even in it, and I sound like a crazy person, the way I was going to work with a smile on my face, like people were like, "What's wrong with this guy? The way he's so positive. Did he write the same test? Did he write the test too? You know, I did. But I was still smiling every day, grateful for the thing. It was beauty. Beauty was the thread that kept everything together. And I think I'll even share. I discovered even that I love poems and poetry and whatnot. I'll even share a poem that came out of this pain, and this was specifically from, was it year test 2? No, I don't think it was year test 2. It was another test, but it was the financial management, the management accounting MANAC, and it was titled, "I'll never forget FBS," because that's the code. That was the code for financial management at UP at the time. So here's how it goes. I'll never forget FBS. I look to my right. I look to my left too. I see in my sight the mere sight of you. But you sit upright and pristine in the test. Look elegant, bright, and look simply the best. And me, sadly not. I'm simply the most stressed. My brain's burning hot, my heart beats out my chest. I look again right, then again look left too. And no hint of fright seems to come out of you. But this, no, this is not true. That I know for a fact. What we have been through proves that it's all an act. What FBS did will not dare go dismissed as another quid pro quo test on our list. Something for nothing was what we had received. Huffing and puffing and knocked down to our knees. Another clean 10 out of 10 for the books. And by 10, I mean 10 for how well we've been cooked. There are many things on which my mind may cling, but FBS tests I'll never forget. I don't know. So this was actually on the day that I wrote the test. I don't know, but I felt like there was a sort of catharsis, a relief, a peace that washed over me when I wrote this myself. Then I sent it to the class. I'm pretty sure other people experience the same. I think what beauty does is it makes this ugly thing. That test was ugly, guys. It makes this ugly thing, and it turns it into such an experience. So I really do believe that beauty it is a truth, and it is something that you can look for in your day to day and in your life. I think even just thinking about the purpose behind your struggles, they also afford a kind of beauty that can make it all worth it. But yeah, beauty is truth, man, and truth beauty. Number 9. Oh, this one's so big. Answer the question, the whole question, and nothing but the question. So huge academic lesson, but I also think a very practical lesson when it comes to answering any question. And I think about a recent conversation that I had with one of my friends. He was recently an academic trainee at UP, the financial management one. Tiriletso. And when I asked him, like, dude, okay, you've seen so many scripts, you have been through this academic thing from even behind the scenes. What are 3 things that like students can focus on, and it will just exponentially change the academic career? And the first thing that he told me was to answer and finish the question. Finish the paper. Like, so big, man. So big. Because at the end of the paper, there's 12 marks. It's the easiest marks of the 100. And you didn't finish it because you were doing question 3A. So you didn't do the easiest marks. Again, back to the beginning. Advanced is never not doing the basics. You didn't do the basic marks because you did not answer the question, the whole question, and nothing but the question. So you've got to finish the paper. You've got to answer the question, right? I think it starts there at answering the question. But then even moving on to this principle, the whole question. Answer the whole question. Read the required a number of times so that you don't miss a specific part of the question. You don't miss a specific part of the requireds. Nothing but the question. You also don't get stuff wrong that's irrelevant. You don't put stuff that's irrelevant there. Because in life, when you give people irrelevant information, that is low value. Even going back, that's not professional, fam. Don't give irrelevant answers. This is all in the pursuit of going pro. So I've said in like nearly 20 interviews this year. And I'd echo the same, even in an interview. When they ask you a question, answer the question, the whole question, and nothing but the question, because I think we can fall on 2 sides of the spectrum of being a little bit too brief, but also overdoing it and giving irrelevant information in the question. When they ask, tell us about yourself, or maybe not that one, but when they ask, what's one challenge that you blah, 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 blah. Don't be too brief, but answer the question, the whole question, and nothing but the question. And I really believe that this principle actually can help you streamline the way that you approach your professionalism and the way that you answer questions. Number 10, and lastly, the road to CASA is not a game of winner takes all, but last man standing. Like, I think this one is the thesis of the pod. It's the thesis of the whole show. It's why the show was started. You know, there's people that I learned about this year, that I've long learned about, that failed. And despite that, or one could even argue because of it in some ways, they're successful. There was a guy who came through. He's a venture capitalist. I don't know if he's currently there, but in Silicon Valley, I think in California, he invests there. He's got a venture fund. I think he's also based in Stellenbosch. Willem van der Post failed I think twice. Took him 6 years to finish his degree. The guy's he's incredibly successful. He came and showed us so much about venture and just how incredible that is. Would love to have him on. Simone Roslier, she's a partner at PKF. I think she also failed twice along her journey, once in CTA, once in undergrad. She's like literally the youngest partner I've ever met, like 30, and she's a partner at an audit firm. Sue van der Valk, another partner, failed in her journey. Incredible lady, brilliant person, brilliant human being. Partner at an audit firm, at a professional services firm as well. Lisego Ranko, the star, the hostess with the mostest, one of the most incredible people I've met in this journey so far. Yeah, her journey is storied. You should even check out the podcast we did. It was incredible. Met with failure. She's doing amazing things now. Mohammed Bulbulia, my gosh, Mr. My CA Hub, incredible business that he's running right now. Phenomenal business, and the guy's just a workhorse of note, value creator of note. My mentor, like there's just so many people, countless people that have failed and are successful. So some of us, even now, some of us maybe even listening to this, have failed this year, 2025. Could have been third year, could have been first year, could have been second year, could have been fourth year, whenever. But that is literally irrelevant. Think back, if you're a third year or fourth year. Think back to the ones who fell off. Think back to the people whom once upon a time you looked left, you looked right, was sitting next to you, and then poof. One day they were just gone. Whether they're gone for good reason or just because it was hard, right? The reason, none of your business. The fact of the matter is they are gone. And you are still here. You are still standing. I think of the quote of Ernest Shackleton and his expedition to Antarctica. I think of his family motto: by endurance, we conquer. By endurance, it will not end. How we finish each other's sentences. I saw you finish my sentence there. By endurance, it will not end. If we zoom out, if we look forward, if we're not too short-sighted, it will not end. But it will begin in CASA. Guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. Again, please rate this if it was valuable. I hope you have an incredible 2026. I think 2026, it's the future. Therefore, it's bright. Therefore, it's everything. Therefore, it's a fresh start. I hope that it's the freshest start possible. So, thank you for listening. See you next week.